here's the big news. And I'm going to go ahead and just release the information today. I was told over a month ago by sources inside CNN, inside ABC, and others, they said, Alex, you are dead on. We're up here wargaming civil unrest in and around the inauguration, Trump being arrested, Trump being indicted, the news announcing he's a Russian spy, basically overthrowing the president, putting it into a constitutional crisis, and a national emergency being declared. That CNN, ABC, and others were going to start promoting the idea of a civil emergency, a national emergency, a national security emergency, a continuity of government emergency, or a COG. Now, under a COG, if a president was actually a foreign agent and that was confirmed, you'd have to have congressional emergency hearings and things like that for it to be constitutional. The shadow government, the deep state that is publicly attacking Trump now, doesn't intend to go that route because they are the deep state. They are actually the foreigners. They're actually the globalists. They're actually the people that have infiltrated the government and are overthrowing our republic. Trump is returning the republic. Trump is trying to disrupt the globalist operation to impoverish us and make us vassal slaves. And I'm going to break all that down. But so I'm being told this by sources. One mid-level, one, let's just say high level, but on the edge of CNN. Let's just say a consultant. That's what's going on. That's what's thematically being prepared. Because they're having to get their own people prepared and lined up, just like we saw before the first Gulf War in 1991, and then in 2003, it leaked that ABC, CBS, CNN, all of months before were wargaming with the actual graphics, the attacks that happened in the exact order they happened, because media was interfacing with the Pentagon to have seamless propaganda. Well, let me just explain something. They are prepping. They are doing, like when you go have a wedding, well, you know, the day before you'll have a dress rehearsal. They've had rehearsals. They've had dress rehearsals. Now they've started to sell the public on the idea. Then, after we first talked about that, they began to say on CNN, we need a civil emergency. We need a national emergency to clear up whether or not Trump is a Russian agent, or if these electors don't go for him, we're going to need this crisis as well. We're going to need this system to take care of the crisis. Now, it's been intensifying with these rogue intelligence agencies coming out with reports that Russians turned off the East Coast power, or that Russians plan to turn off the East Coast, or that they had a laptop, and then, okay, the laptop didn't even have this software on it. It's all totally made up. We've seen hoax after hoax after hoax after hoax. We've seen 3 lawsuits saying he raped young girls, fake names, totally made up. But we're all supposed to forget about those. Now, Rosie O'Donnell, who is a has-been, but that doesn't matter. In Manhattan, she is a absolute darling of the establishment. She's dialed into everything. At the national level, she's seen as the nemesis of Trump. She comes out uncharacteristically technical with the terms she used that are the exact script they're planning to use if they try to overthrow our president and the return of our republic. This is from Yahoo News. Trump's nemesis, Rosie O'Donnell, calls for martial law. That's yesterday. Donald Trump ripped Rosie O'Donnell during his first Republican presidential debate. We'll see, he deserves it, saying that she was the only woman about whom he'd ever made disparaging comments. Now, with less than 10 days until Trump takes the oath of office, O'Donnell says that she'd support martial law, that's a quote, in order to delay his inauguration. Fully support imposing martial law, this is a quote. All caps, fully support imposing martial law, delaying the inauguration until Trump is cleared of all charges. I am fully support martial law. She goes on from there. So, again, they are trying to sell this idea. They are wargaming it. They are preparing it to the point that on ABC, CNN, MSNBC, anybody can search these terms and pull up these transcripts. In the last month, they've started floating national emergency, national emergency, national emergency. We need Obama to declare a national emergency. Then they'll announce they're having an investigation for 6 months until there's a new election. You see, and then, even if there is a new election, Homeland Security, here's the key, federalized the election elections last week. Now, remember, I told you that a month before they actually came out and announced they were going to start the process. That was a month and a half before the election. Now, people keep asking, how do I keep predicting all this? Do I have a magical crystal ball? No, ladies and gentlemen, I have sources throughout the Pentagon, throughout the CIA, throughout the FBI, throughout the federal marshals, and I've got sources even above that. I've been on the phone the last week with people in this government at the highest levels. I just want listeners to understand, this is not smoke you're getting here. This is hardcore reality. And if people think the globalists aren't going to try something when their whole world government is going down in flames worldwide, think again. The whole table is set. Meanwhile, another big tell, and this is an intel I got from sources. This is what I saw with my eyeballs. That's usually the best intel for anybody, isn't it? George Soros doubled the week after the huge upset on November 8th, 2016. He doubled the amount of money he was giving to the Black Lives Matter, the communist groups, the Ford Foundation groups, the destabilization groups, the groups calling for civil unrest, burning down cities, killing cops, knockout game, all this garbage. And I thought, well, maybe he's just being vindictive. Then I saw the big foundations, and I saw, everybody from Kellogg's to the Ford Foundation massively increase what they were giving. In 1 week, they were giving $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $5 million apiece. Over 30 major corporations were giving over $1 million apiece, some $3, $4 million. Soros gave $100 million additional that week. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about a massive quadrupling down ahead of this inauguration, with them busing in reportedly hundreds of thousands of agitators. We have it in the WikiLeaks. They give them drugs. They give them alcohol. They pay the average person $200 a day. Some agitators are paid $1,400 a day to physically attack people. Then Soros's lawyers get them out of prison. This guy's overthrown Ukraine. This guy's overthrown the Middle East with the Arab Spring. They mean business, and their mouths are wet with the blood of the innocents. They've got a bloodthirsty taste of victory in all these other countries, and they really think they can do this. Trump is aware of what's going on. Trump has plans in place, but everybody better know this. Be ready to call C-SPAN. Be ready to call talk radio. Be ready to really take action, get a buzz going out there that they better not try martial law, because that's the kind of thing that can spook them off of doing this if their program is exposed.
Glenn Greenwald said, look, the left is going hysterical. They're losing. They lost to Trump, and they're upset about this. He says, if you don't like their policies, and Glenn Greenwald said, I don't like Trump, but I'm going to oppose him in the marketplace of ideas. There's other ways to do this other than embracing the kind of tactics that have been used in other countries to overthrow their governments by the CIA, and embracing that here at home. And that's the real issue. That's what he said. The deep state has come out and declared war against Donald Trump.
That's right. The deep state, exactly, has declared war against Donald Trump. And here's what I'm getting at. Just like when the month before they went after the electors, they were going after him covertly. We were exposing it, and they would say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. No one's going after the electors. They don't want any opposition to mount to their ongoing programs. So what I'm saying is they're currently, with 7 days left, seriously trying, not just the moron left, but the deep state, to sell the public on the suspension of the election, a national emergency, and basically martial law. And that's why you hear Rosie O'Donnell saying this, because these talking points are being discussed by the leftist in newspapers. I mean, they're in the New York Times, they're in the Washington Post, calling for impeachment to begin right away, calling for a suspension of this election. They're already calling for it. It's so unconstitutional, it's so naked, it's so brazen. We are having trouble believing they're even doing this, but I'm trying to assure everyone they are currently moving and are currently trying this because, look, even Bernie Sanders has had to come out and say, okay, Trump's right on trade. Okay, Trump's right on bringing the tax money back. Okay, Trump really is bringing jobs back, because his own constituents are turning against Sanders. Sanders is a slime ball, but he understands which way the wind is blowing. He understands real prosperity is here. Trump is turning off all the globalist policies that have made this country a rust bucket. The globalists are in full panic. Trump intends, folks, to completely deliver. Then it'll just be up to us to be moral and hardworking and save money and be good people. But this country and the world, America doing well will make the rest of the world do well. It's not a zero-sum game. It's a non-zero-sum game, or a 361 as we talk about. And Trump understands that the engine of liberty, the engine of Renaissance, will empower the entire world for anybody that wants to work hard and be moral. So they are in complete and a total panic mode. And as you said, David, they are activating the Soros cells to disrupt and block. It's being literally led. A former head of the Weatherman Underground was connected to bombing and blowing the eyeballs out of police officers, you name it, and who openly in those meetings that came out in the FBI files and court hearings was planning to put 50 million Americans in re-education camps and kill 25 million of us. We ought to pull up Larry Grathwold. That after the break, I'll be gone. Pull up Grathwold and play that, and that's from the 1980s. Because these people mean business. They cannot compete with the free market. They cannot compete with America. The world of globalism and authoritarianism, no matter what spot or what stripe or what vein or what pedigree, tyranny cannot compete with free market and the open market of ideas. Look at how you get 1,000 flavors of everything. You get every choice you could ever imagine. You get being able to fly anywhere in the world inexpensively and get rent cars instantly and have medicine instantly. And people sit around lazily and bitch about this. Well, the globalists have an answer to that. They're going to take it all away from you like North Korea or Venezuela or Cuba. And look at Obama. As long as you come here from an authoritarian country, you can come here. You got diseases, you can come here. You got no documentation, you can come here. You want to come here and have a baby for free, you can come here. But you're a bunch of Cubans fleeing 50-something years of absolute total tyranny and hundreds of thousands murdered and millions imprisoned, and you come here and you're active, you're pro-gun, you're pro-America, you're pro-freedom. I can't tell you how many times it's Cuban Americans fighting tyranny 10 to 1 what other Americans are doing, and the globalists are in panic mode. They're like, no more of these Cubans, you keep them out. It shows the complete evil agenda of these people, David.
Yeah, you know, Alex, when you're talking about the Electoral College, and of course we saw that happen with the nomination, we saw it with the election. They say, well, hey, we're going to get people to overthrow the votes of the voters in the various states. But also remember that it was Evan McMullin, former CIA guy, that Glenn Beck and others pushed in Utah to try to block Trump from getting an electoral majority. They thought that would be a very effective strategy. They didn't realize just how far out he was. But of course, this is a guy who went to meet with ISIS, went with John McCain to meet with ISIS. Evan McMullin, this is the guy they picked, the CIA operative.
Exactly, David. That's why you're so great. You'll bring up all the backstory, all the background. This whole thing are rogue, criminal, multinational corporate agents that have infiltrated the CIA, the NSA. These bodies were set up, especially the CIA, to bring America into globalism. It was set up from the beginning out of the whole Rhodes Scholarship. It was all a Cecil Rhodes plan. He wrote multiple books on it. They set up the Pratt House in New York in 1921 to do it. The CFR, that's the Royal Commission on International Affairs. But bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, they are seriously, notice you heard this from me first, because we have the sources. Now you see it actually materializing 7 days out.
Yeah.